Here we go.
You guys ready to have some fun today? True leaders serve their followers by giving them the ability to be just like them, not only in words, but in actions. One has to help each person within the organization find their why. If people don't know their why, they shouldn't be going to work every day. So when it comes to culture, first and foremost, anyone that comes into any of our business ventures, they need to define the person that they want to become. And then we need to show them, and they need to ask themselves, within our organization, can they become the best version of themselves? So I know if my culture is doing well based on who I'm retaining and if they're growing.
I followed Jeff since the very beginning, and I was just like, that's what I want.
Well, anything that Jeff Cohn does is top notch. So if he does an event, we perk up and listen for sure.
I'm always looking for my next teacher, and Jeff happened to be one of those guys that is constantly a teacher.
My grandpa Cohn always said, the harder you work, the luckier you get. In just 6 years, our flagship team went from 70 to over 700 real estate sales, training, lead generation, accountability, systems, and technology are what we focused on to help us get there.
Dude, I don't think I could ever do a better intro than that. So that's insane.
Let's go.
Let's
Super
do
cool.
this.
One, and what's up, everybody?
Let me mute this one over here. You got everybody pumped on this. So you have some amazing numbers. Let's start with that. What have you done in COVID, and what are you planning to do next year?
Yeah, so like it showed in the hype video, which was funny. That hype video was done last fall in 2019 with the expectation that I'd be on some pretty big stages in 2020. I didn't realize those would all be virtual stages. With the exception of Family Reunion, I pretty much have been on hundreds of virtual stages, and I've gotten to use the video for that. So it's been great. Thank you, Tristan, for playing that, and thank you for having me on Lab Coat today. So when we came over, we transitioned as a team. I had chosen to place that team at Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. We grew, like I said in the video, from 70 to 700 unit sales in 6 years, fastest growing team in history. 2019, Mr. Gary Keller, which a lot of your listeners probably know who that is, invited me to come spend some time with him in Austin to show me the direction the real estate market was going, and to see if there was an opportunity for me to build my world inside of his while helping lift all of those in and outside of Keller Williams. And so we chose to launch a market center in Omaha, Nebraska. We call it KW Elite. When we launched in January of 2020, this year, we had about 25 to 27 agents. And year to date here, not even 12 months later, we've tripled in size. We're up to about 75 agents. Unit sales, we were doing about 550 sides a year. We're right now over 1,500 sides during a pandemic, during an election year. We went from $100 million in gross volume to almost over 300 million in gross volume. And we went from $2 million in gross commission income. We're over $6 million in gross commission income. So pretty much in every category since launching our brokerage, we've grown about 300%. While local brokers were saying I was a sinking ship when I opened up my market center across the street from the #1 brokerage currently in Omaha. I don't think our ship is sinking. I think we're just adding vessels. And so what I'm so excited about as I've entered into Keller Williams is our ability to create impact and influence for other real estate brokers and team leaders and agents in and outside of Keller Williams. And we're not going anywhere. We're just growing. And we're super excited to be able to share with an agent, with a broker, what our mindset is for the agent moving forward from more of an agent role to an advisory role. And that's what I wanted to talk about a little bit today.
Dude, I love that. Those are some crazy numbers that I love. Can you share with us your average price range? Because all of us here in mostly Southern California.
Yeah. So when I got into the business, our average sales price in Omaha, Nebraska, which there's about 1 million people in the surrounding areas. It's the biggest city in Nebraska. Our average sales price then was about 177,000. That's back in 2006. Flash forward almost 15 years. Our average sales price right now is about $225,000.
$225. I love that.
So I can put up 700 unit sales, and it's about comparable to someone in your area putting up 100 unit sales in commission dollar. However, what a lot of people don't recognize and haven't put very much attention to are the ancillary businesses that run parallel to a real estate agent and team and brokerage. And oftentimes the brokers are the only ones taking advantage of that relationship. And so early on in my career, I launched a title company, a mortgage company, an insurance company, a digital marketing company, a call center, an investment arm that buys single family and multi. And so for the last 5 years, I've stepped out of the real estate sales role and stepped into the owning business role. And while doing that, we launched our podcast, the Team Building Podcast, which now gets listened to. We get about 15,000 downloads a month. We were just ranked in one of the top 20 real estate podcasts in the country by Follow Up Boss. We've been having a lot of success there. And my whole thing, Tristan, and I know you and I have talked a lot offline, is creating impact for other agents and brokers. I want to give them the same opportunities that I've had. And now there's this roadmap. You can literally go download my roadmap to how I built my real estate team at ersloveskw.com. ERS, Elite Real Estate Systems, loveskw.com. Free download. Yes, we're going to try to sell you stuff.
Yeah. What's the link again? So I can type it in.
ERS loves KW.
ERS loves KW.
KW.com. Or grow with ERS, grow withers, grow with ERS.com.
With ERS.com.
So, you know, there's the golden rule, Tristan, and that's do unto others as you'd like others to do unto you, which is the rule I subscribed to when I first launched the podcast. Today, I subscribe to the platinum rule, which I learned, I believe, in Michael Mayer's book, 7 Levels of Communication. Do you know what the platinum rule is?
Go ahead and
Treat
tell
other
us.
people. Oh, I thought that was a quiz, so I was getting ready
Paul,
to help out there.
Paul, let's hear it.
Treat other people how they want to be treated.
Oh my gosh, you guys, this is a game changer. So I learned this
Absolutely.
in marriage, 17 years of marriage. I should not treat my wife how I want to be treated. My wife doesn't want to be treated how I want to be treated. I have to treat her how she wants to be treated. And as I've kind of categorized people into 4 major personality traits on the DISC, DISC, I've learned that every person wants to be treated differently. Obviously, we're all different. And so I started really becoming self-confronting, self-actualizing, and understanding what do people in my world need, not what do I think they should want because that's what I always wanted, but what do they need? And I kind of segue that into our conversation today because there's people today that just want to stop selling real estate. There's people today that want more listings. There's people today that want to get divorced. You know, whatever the thing is that you need, it's not my job to find it, but it is my job to share patterns with you that have helped me to be successful and get to the point I'm at today so that you can then apply those patterns into your world and do whatever you want to do.
And isn't that also true with even, you know, with the amount of real estate that you sold, even with a listing presentation, right? I mean, when a lot of times I see realtors go in and they've got like, oh, I've practiced my listing presentation, 100 times. Here's my booklet. Let me go through it. And you know, I think I'm interested in what you have to say, but isn't a very effective approach to say something like, hey, Jeff, what would it take for you to sign up? What are the, few things that you're looking for in order to sign this listing contract today?
Exactly, Paul. Because a lot of times agents are assuming what's most important to them is what? The commission they have to pay and or the net they're going to make. But that's a horrible assumption. I'd say 60% of the time it's something else. It might be time frame. It might be, do they have a house to move to? It might be, are they going to be able to move their mother-in-law into the next house that they put? Like, you just don't know. And so you have to ask those inquiring questions.
It's very true.
A big part for me was building leverage. And, Paul Morris, you and I go back 5 years within GoBundance and have been really good friends ever since. And you've seen us grow exponentially just in the short period of time that we've known each other. And so I start thinking about patterns and the different things that we've implemented across all of our businesses. And I'd say one of the number one life hacks that I would love for everyone to take away today would be creating leverage. And when I use the word leverage, what I really mean is replacing yourself with something else. It could be technology, it could be a person, so that you can move on to higher income producing activities, but also higher influential activities in which you can create more impact and influence in the worlds of those with whom you interact. And the thing that bothers me, and I hope this hits home with someone on the call today, too often agents say, I want to keep being the rainmaker. I control the transaction. My clients want to work with me, and I want to keep all the commissions. Well, while that's wonderful for you, How many people have been lost by the wayside that you could have created impact for? How many people could you have led? Could you have taught the things that you know to help them become a better version of themselves so that you can move on to bigger and better things and greater impact and not have to sell real estate? So my big challenge to every audience I've been in front of for years is today I'd like to teach you to stop selling real estate and focus on building a business so that you have the option to not go on the listing presentation, the option to not go show a house. You may choose to continue to do it or in a certain price point or for a certain amount of hours a week, but who here wouldn't want to net $1 million a year and never work with another client? So in my career, I've sold 5,000 units. I don't want to know how many clients that's been for over $1 billion in sales. I haven't sold for 6 years. So when people put me on a stage and say, oh, look at this real estate agent, I'm not a real estate agent anymore. I'm a business owner. And everyone watching should stop thinking that they're a real estate agent. Stop telling people that that's what you are and turn yourself into a business owner. That teaches people to be awesome agents who will eventually be business owners, who teach people to be awesome agents. And it just keeps going and going. And then build the ancillary businesses around you that provide the consumer with a better experience. And so what we've started focusing on is moving the agent from an agent role of opening doors and listing houses to an advisory role of, in addition to opening doors and listing houses, we're consulting our clients on the best mortgage opportunities, best mortgage options, the best property and casualty insurance options, the best term life, whole life, disability, and healthcare options. And the list can go on and on. Best home inspection company, best plumber, whoever that person might end up being. And you can have 3 ways of monetizing those referrals. The simplest is a monthly fee through a vendor list that you create and you post on your website. It's just a vendor fee. You want me to, you want me to be on my vendor list? It's $100 a month. Number 2 most profitable thing is an MSA, which is a marketing service agreement. And you can engage in an actual signed agreement, or it can be a verbal handshake agreement. RESPA just wants it to be RESPA compliant. I consult with your broker, your region, your state to make sure everything I'm recommending is legal where you live. And then number 3 is ownership. And so as I found, as I went into the vendor relationship and then an MSA and then ownership relationships, it all comes back to value. The more impact and influence I could create for those entities, and this applies to agents as well, the more I was able to own because I was influencing people choosing to use those ancillary businesses. So today inside my office, we have literally an agent facing side and a consumer facing side. The consumer facing has 6 high-tech conference rooms. And then across the hall from all 6 of those consumer facing conference rooms lives the mortgage company, title company, insurance company, and a financial planning company. And so when someone comes in for their first time to meet with a mortgage company, title company, insurance company, real estate agent, or financial planning company, every other business is introduced to them right then and there. Let me introduce you to the mortgage company. Let me introduce you to the insurance company. Let me introduce you to the financial planning company. And an agent listening right now would say, well, what's in it for you? And shame on you for thinking that way, because what's in it for you is you're now subscribing to the platinum rule. Do unto others as you'd like done unto you. Wouldn't you want to know, even though you had your own mortgage company and title company, insurance company, and financial planner, you go to use your realtor, wouldn't you like to make sure that the mortgage company, title company, insurance company, financial planner you're using is giving you the best advice? So we open up all of those ancillary businesses to our clients so that they can then get a second opinion on all of those ancillary businesses to make sure that they're getting the best rate that they can take advantage of. And it helps the agent become more empowered because they're offering more value to their client.
Jeff, you move so fast, which we all love. And when you talk about that progression, and by the way, you said 5 years ago, anytime I think it's 5 years, it's usually that we've known each other, it's usually more like 10, but right. Yeah. Right. But,
Paul and I are brothers from another mother. It's probably just been our whole life. How old did that put us at? 35,
something like that. One of the things that's, you're moving so fast through this progression, and to take apart the progression a little bit, really, I think is step 1, which you definitely mentioned. And that is that the client wants me to be at the home inspection. You know how many times, and admittedly, the price point's different here. So you get there quicker in Omaha, where you just can't be. If you're at every home inspection, you'll never sell enough houses to make a decent living. But, hey, Jeff, I'm selling in the, $2 million price range. And, my client wants me at the home inspection. Now that's, we all know the that's a fallacy, and we can deal with that and work around that. But that's step one in taking yourself out of the lower value things. Go
Paul,
ahead.
let me pause that sentiment. And I think you make a perfect point. What the client really wants is what? They don't want Paul Morris or Jeff Cohn or Tristan. What they want is to feel like they're important. What they want is to feel like they're cared for. What they want is that someone's in their corner. You can hire someone to be at the home inspection in the corner representing you. Look at doctors, dentists, and attorneys.
Absolutely.
What's the metaphorical home inspection for a doctor?
Right.
They go get your blood draw, they check your blood pressure, they get your weight. The doctor's not doing that, but they send their nurse in who makes a 1/50th of what the doctor makes to do all of the home inspection activities and pre-closing walkthrough and insert all of the other things that are worth $20 an hour that you can hire your first hire to do for you. And that's your administrative assistant, which is the first step to scaling your business.
And that's like mindset, because can you imagine? Okay. So like, okay, so now I'm going to talk my seller or buyer out of wanting me there at the home inspection. Now, if you went, fabulous metaphor you made, Jeff, and that is if you walked into a doctor's office, okay, and your doctor were sitting behind the desk answering the phone and go, oh, hey, Jeff, hang on 1 second. Let me book you. Oh, let me take you back. Let me do that. You'd be like, I need a new doctor, right? Because we view our doctor as such a high value person. So
how about they open the door for you when you walk in the doctor's office and welcome you and offer you a drink? And I mean, think of the things we're doing as real estate agents, you guys. It's pretty embarrassing.
And you can offer yourself as such a high value person. Say, listen, how about this? You want me at the home inspection? Here's the deal. Here are the things, here are the 2 or 3 things that I'm great at. This is why you hired me. Standing around and watching the home inspector, not one of them. In fact, my assistant used to work for a construction company, and that's why I hired him. And he's the best at a home inspection. I'm going to send that guy. You don't even want me there. I would want this guy at my home inspection. So just sort of, and that's a good bridge. Great metaphor with the doctor, Jeff. And then the bridge into creating yourself as a higher value. And then when you're really more of a fiduciary to your client. So, hey, how about this? I'm not going to try and sell you mortgage services because it's good for me. But if I knew when I sold which house to which person, I could just by timeline, I could tell essentially what their rates would be, right? I don't need to actually have their loan in front of me. I go, like, wait a minute, 2 years ago, I sold this one. Well, what were the rate? You could just get a timeline from your mortgage person, from your mortgage partner, and just put a timeline down of what the average rates were. And then you just call all the people that you sold when the average rate, and then you figure out what's the delta, what's the difference between now and then that would make sense. And now you call them and you're a fiduciary. Hey, Jeff, when I sold you your house 2 years ago, I know that interest rates were 1.5 points higher. Based on what I sold you the house for, here's how much more you're spending than you could be. So let me da-da-da-da-da-da. Now you're making this transition.
Yep. Absolutely perfect. And that's exactly my point of going from that, the role of an agent to the role of an advisor. Interest rates hit an all-time low, 50-year low. How many of you listening who are agents who claim you do what's best for your client and treat them like family? How many of you picked up the phone, like Paul just said, and called them to let them know they should refinance their loan if they're going to stay in the house more than XYZ time frame based on the price of the house and the interest rate that they locked in at 2 or 3 years ago? My guess is less than 1%. Why? Because agents look at dollar signs. They don't think of clients as clients for life. They think of clients as their next BMW payment or their next mortgage payment. And we have to flip the script. Agents, like Gary Keller talks about, will no longer be necessary if we only look at our clients as a dollar sign. So pick up the phone to talk about checking your property casualty rate, which, by the way, every year you can renew your P&C insurance, home and auto insurance. Every year you could remind your client, hey, go check 2 or 3 different companies, make sure you have the best rate, refinance your mortgage, save money there. Have you thought about a term life policy to cover the replacement cost of your house should the high income earner die? How many of our clients have a term life policy equal to the value of their house should somebody pass away? Guess what? We all will die eventually. So why would we not recommend that when it's pennies? You know, it costs $10 a month, I think, for a $500,000 term life policy if you're under like 40 years old. So I think all of this is obviously very useful information. One thing I'd like to say, what really helped my mindset on this idea that you create these leveraged roles is looking at what I was worth per hour. So in your market, I don't know what your average agent in your region makes a year. I'm guessing they sell about 6 to 10 houses, an average, what, 40 to 60,000, the average person. The person listening, let's call it 100 grand. I'm going to be nice. Let's say the average agent in your market makes 100 grand a year, and let's pretend they only work 40 hours a week, start to finish. How much are you worth per hour? $100,000 a year income, 40-hour work weeks, 52 weeks out of the year. And you two know, but everyone give it a second. What are you worth per hour?
$50 an hour.
Okay, so Paul shared it. The number's 50. It's easy math, right? So if you make 200 grand a year, what are you worth per hour?
$100 an hour.
So here's the challenge. If you want to be worth $1 million a year, start charging $500 an hour. And what I mean by that is think about the activities that you're choosing to do in your life. Are you mowing your lawn? Are you washing your car? Are you power washing the exterior of your house, which I did last year and said I'll never do that again? You know, there are certain activities you might enjoy doing, but for the most part, a lot of these mundane activities can be done for $15 an hour, $40 an hour. I have people I'm now paying $200 an hour. I have an attorney that makes $625 an hour. Paul, you probably think that's pretty impressive, right? It's not bad money,
Yeah.
right? So what if each of us was so inclined as to define today the income we want to make in 2021, and we start charging people based on the hourly rate we're going to need to generate to be able to make that income? This is not impossible. You can literally just start doing this next year. You can figure out how many listings do you want to take and what would your commission rate need to be. Now, of course, you're going to laugh me off the podcast by saying, well, Jeff, I'd have to charge a 16% commission rate. No, you don't. Hire 2 more agents and get them to list double the houses you listed at 5%. And now you've just doubled your income or tripled your income. So all of this is simple. It's just you have to choose to take a risk and take a step back to take a step forward. And what I have found, and Paul, I know you and Tristan both know this, but in my experience, the steps back and the steps forward end up being bigger and bigger the more risk you take. So for example, I was the #1 agent in the world at Berkshire. I was 7th level, netting $1 million a year, working less than 5 hours a week, spending a lot of time chilling out at my swimming pool in the summers, which the summer in Omaha is about 2 months out of the year, unfortunately. And life was great, but I wasn't creating the impact and influence that I wanted to create in the lives of millions of people, both nationally and internationally. And I was bored. That lasted like 6 months. And I'm like, I need to do more. And so when Gary challenged me to launch a brokerage, I thought, you know what, this is going to be the vehicle that's allowing me to impact more lives. Yeah, I'm going to make way more money, but it's not about the money, right? It's not the ones and zeros. It's the lifestyles we can create for others and the lives we can truly change. So I had to take a huge step backwards, which the numbers I just reported you to grow 300%. I didn't expect that during a pandemic, in an election year in Omaha. Like that shouldn't happen. Mathematically, I should not have grown 3x in a year. And that's an attribute to my amazing leadership staff and my agents and how hard everyone has worked. So what I share with you as you listen today, as we are rounding this corner into the craziest year and now in hopefully a continued strong real estate market, which I think we'll see with the Fed locking interest rates. They're not going to be going up for another 2 years. It will stay a seller's market in most markets. It will stay a strong market if you choose to work the business. The question is just what kind of income do you want to generate? But the more important question is what role do you want to play and what impact and influence do you want to create? If you want to be the person that goes on the showing or goes on a home inspection and that's how you want to live the rest of your life, then go do it. If that's what you love and that fulfills you, then I'd say go do it. But for most agents that I have one-on-one intimate conversations with, they say, Jeff, I don't want to open another door. I don't want to go on another appointment. I don't want to look at another person in the face. I'm done. I'm burned out. And for that person, I say there's another way. And what I'd suggest to anyone listening, and even if you're not licensed yet, I would subscribe to my business plan. Again, growwithers.com or ersloveskw.com. You can download it for free. The first hire, we already said, it's an administrative assistant. And then there's a handful of agents that you choose to bring on. But you don't have to have a mega team of 5, 10, 20 people. You can do a lot with just 1 or 2. So what I would provide today, and what I wanted to talk about for a couple more minutes, and then I'll stop yakking like I always do, is I'd like to provide you with an idea of, since you're in California, we'll use the analogy of Navy SEAL real estate team. Bud's training, I believe, is on Coronado Island, right? So we're going to do the Buds training for realtors, and this is what it looks like. An agent's highest income producing activity, if they're going to still be a realtor, is going on a buyer's presentation. You can host that at your office or at a Starbucks or virtually, and it's a actual buyer presentation that you walk somebody through so they know Paul's not showing up at the walkthrough or at the home inspection. You teach them in the buyer presentation what the expectation should be so that they get exactly what they want. Same thing on a listing presentation. Highest income producing activity, buyer presentations, listing presentations, and prospecting. Everything else can be serviced by somebody else. So what's the most valuable monetary asset that agents have is their data and the relationships and their ability to create leads. They can service the lead by just doing a buyer pres or listing pres. It takes an hour to do either. Get a listing signed, get a buyer's agreement signed, and turn it over to a buyer's exclusive buyer Navy SEAL, exclusive listing Navy SEAL. Paul says, this listing agent, it's amazing. I already know, Paul, you have people you probably refer your listing leads to and say, this is my best agent in my office, or this is the best agent that to help you on this buy side. You have a person that you kick stuff over to, and then pay them a salary, a base salary with a tiny bonus, or a big bonus and a tiny salary. You can do it however you want. I choose to do a 75% referral fee. So I'm still doing this strategy and charge a 75% referral fee, and I'm averaging $5,000 an hour. So you can hit replay 10 seconds and listen to that again. I'm averaging $5,000 an hour on my listing presentations and buyer presentations because I'm spending an hour doing the most important part, which is getting them to sign a contract that they're going to work with us. And then I turn it over to somebody else to get it serviced. Guess how much doctors make an hour? How much do you think a plastic surgeon makes in Beverly Hills per hour? 25,000 an hour? It's got to be high for if you look at their actual hours in surgery.
Actual hours in surgery, yeah, probably. That's right.
And so our surgery is the listing pres and the buyer pres and then prospecting. And prospecting doesn't need to be glorified telemarketer. It could just be go show up at a social event once a week and talk to people about buying and selling houses and how the market's going. No one wants to be sold, just be their friend and the deals will come to you. Now, if you don't want to be an agent, and that's okay, how much money do you want to make? And you can figure out using reverse engineering. We can talk on this later today too, if you want, but you can figure out if you want to make $1 million a year and you knew it took you 100 sales, if you're just going to charge a 50% referral fee, then you just need 200 sales. Your business just needs to double and you charge a 50% referral fee, you don't service any of them. And that's what I did from 2011 to 2014. I was still in production and I promised myself when I made the most I ever made on my own was 350 grand selling. And I promised myself that if I made 350 grand off my real estate team, I would stop selling and focus on helping them build their business. And that's exactly what I did in 2014. I stopped selling. What happened? I thought I'd go backwards. I doubled. I made 700 grand. And then I started launching all the ancillary businesses. So there is a way that those interested can go the distance. Most of you won't. Most people listening just want to be an agent. They might say, oh, that's really smart to think about the hourly, and you might hire an admin, and whatever impact and influence this Lab Coat Agent episode creates in your world, then it's a success for us. But there is a way for everyone listening to be seventh level, which is making $1 million a year and not having to really put more than a couple hours a week into work. But it's going to take a lot of work and a lot of consistency over a long period of time. But everyone listening is capable of doing that. And I would love to see others succeed at my level and beyond my level. But the strategies are there for you. The processes are there. Read Millionaire Real Estate Agent. That's what I read in 2005, 2006 when it came out. And I applied a lot of those strategies to my business, and it grew exponentially in a very short amount of time.
And again, I love the energy. I love the inspiration for sure. And I know that everyone listening is going to be totally inspired. And I'm going to do the same thing I did before, which is dial it back to a point where, hey, Jeff, I am an agent right now. I'm inspired. You're cool. I'm making 100 G's in LA. I'm serious now. I'm making 100 G's a year in LA. And sure, I'd love to do all, eventually. But what I need to do is I need to go from 100 to 150 or 150 to 200. So it doesn't take that many house sales here. I admit that, but this is an Omaha, or what people will say. Now, I believe that things are very relevant here. I'm at 100. How do I get to 150?
Yep. So there's lots of ways. Really what you're asking, you're asking how to make 150 grand a year. What I want people to ask when they ask that question is, how do I double my income in half the time? Because most agents that are working hard work 60 hours a week, but that's not a sustainable lifestyle. It's not, you're not going to truly find happiness working that many hours. So what I would love for everyone listening is, imagine doubling your income and working half the hours. And that's working smarter, not harder. And for those that I've found that succeed at a very high level, they're masters at working smart and hard. But the trick is, you don't have to work hard all the time. You have to be a sprinter in real estate. And so, like I shared earlier, that Navy SEAL team, if your focus is prospecting, which it should be, if you read Gary Keller's letter that came out in February, or it was early March, right, when everything was shutting down, he sent out a letter to the whole company. This is not long ago, 8 months ago. It said to double your prospecting efforts. So, or maybe he said increase by an hour. So go from 3 hours a day to 4 hours a day. How many listening right now are spending 20 hours a week prospecting? You should be. Prospecting can come in a lot of different forms. Find the thing you love. If you hate open houses, don't do open houses. If you hate cold calling, don't do cold calling. Do what you believe you're good at. And what I would propose is spend some money on marketing as well. If you don't want to spend it on your own, get your marketing service agreements in place, or your vendor relationships, have someone else spend some money. Go try Zillow, go try realtor.com, go get Boomtown and run Google ads and Facebook ads. Go boost posts on Instagram and Facebook and Google. Do something, because what you have to do to be able to exit the business is create what's called predictable revenue. You have to have a machine in which you know that by pushing a button, you could double your leads, which would double your sales. Or, you know, for me, as an example, right now we spend $8,000 a month in Google and Facebook ads. So I know it costs me $10. It's cost me $1 every time someone clicks on an ad, and these numbers apply in your market too. It costs me $10 to get someone to give me their contact info. So 10 people go to a squeeze page, only one person gives me their info. That's $10 a lead. I need 50 registered leads to convert one deal. This is not sexy numbers, California. That's a 2% conversion ratio. But I'm spending $500 at a 2% conversion ratio. It's $500 for converted lead. The average lead in my market generates $6,000 in gross commission income. And I give that commission, that lead over to an agent and charge a 50% referral fee. So I make $3,000 less $500. It's $2,500 return on my $500 investment. For those that are in the investing world, that's a 500% return, or 5x return. So what's my bottleneck? My bottleneck are agents willing to work internet leads, agents willing to only convert at 2%. Now, what's beautiful about your own prospecting efforts, if you're going to social gatherings or making calls to your grandma's bunco group, you're going to convert at a much higher rate than 2%. You know, Zillow leads convert at like a 10 to 15%, so they claim, but the ROI on average across the country is 1.2 to 1.5x return. The returns are so marginal. But to know the numbers, you have to track the numbers. For 10 years, we've tracked all these. I've generated 3 million visitors to kwelite.com over the last 9 years. Out of those 3 million, 1 million were paid visits. Out of 1 million paid visits at a 10% conversion ratio, that's 100,000 registered leads that I paid for. And of those, we've converted about 2,500 of them. Half of our 5,000 unit career sales have been internet leads. That's a 2.5% conversion ratio from the beginning. So I know my numbers better than anyone, but for you to grow and scale your business, you asked the hypothetical question, how do I double and work half the time? You need to know your numbers. You need to know your business, because then you know where to put your time and energy.
And I do think that I've always been like so impressed with, you know, from day one when we met, really so impressed with you knowing your numbers backwards and forwards, to the point where I'm like, God, this guy's got to be super high C. And I don't think you are. You know, you're just somebody who's very committed to your business. And one of the things that I heard in there again is, okay, so, all right, so I'm making 100,000. I want to make 150 in the same amount of time or less. And what I'm going to do, based on what you're telling me, is I'm going to spend, and this is sort of wrapping together the stuff we've talked about throughout this almost hour. I'm going to spend more time doing the dollar productive activities. And those dollar productive activities are prospecting, period, are ways to get more leads into my database and work that database. And then you can afford to hire an assistant or somebody else to open the door for you. To go back to the doctor,
Yep.
to go back to the doctor metaphor.
Yep. And I would even say you can't afford not having that position. So you're just continually taking steps back if you don't have somebody that's servicing the actual work part of servicing a client. So all of the things that are highest producing are actually none of the things you have to do as a real estate agent. So think about any successful business. Its success isn't in its process of servicing. Its success is in its ability to bring in business.
And I'm gonna take another challenge. I'm gonna put another challenge out to folks that I'm getting directly from you, and that is, people say it like, be a fiduciary for your clients. Okay, but okay, sure, that sounds great. So how do I do it? But some of the ideas that you just threw out in like 2 seconds, like, oh hey, you know what's interesting is I redid my insurance also. However, I hadn't redone my insurance in 10 years. So it's not like I'm on my A game, and I saved a bunch of money. Talking to people about getting new insurance quotes is being a fiduciary. All that time spent doing that is prospecting. You're talking to your database and you're giving them valuable information. So that's just another example, another takeaway that I got from this session.
Yeah, when
Yes,
you're,
sir.
talking about the ancillary items here, are you also creating these companies, or are you taking just a piece of teaming up with somebody? Like, let's say Paul is the insurance guy,
Yeah.
right?
I have an answer. I understand your question.
All right, perfect.
So there's lots of different ways to do this. For all those listening, you can start a company from scratch. That's the hardest route. And that's the route I chose to go because I wanted autonomy and I wanted to choose the people I partnered with. You could go to an already existing independent insurance agency in California today. And let's say you were sending them 10 or 15 deals a month. And if you understand the business and you know what kind of revenue you're generating to them, you could say, hey, I want to become a strategic partner with you, and I would like to buy in ownership of your already existing insurance business. I think that I should become a 10% partner or 90% partner, whatever you want to try to ask for, because I have a belief that I'll be able to help impact and influence people's choices in which insurance company they're going to choose to use, as I've already proven I can do. And this is why you go from vendor relationship to MSA to ownership, is that MSA has proven that you can send business in that direction. So my businesses were all formed from scratch, so to speak, with individuals who already had their title license, insurance license, and mortgage licenses, so they could legally launch those entities. But you don't have to do it that way. You could choose to simply partner with someone with an already existing business. The problem is a lot of people listening may not have the ability to create enough influence and impact in translation, send enough business to those ancillary businesses to warrant them even considering you as a strategic partner. But if you're a team that does hundreds of deals, or you're a brokerage that does thousands, there is no reason you shouldn't have ownership in ancillary businesses. There's a huge opportunity there. And like Gary believes, the agent commission will continue to be challenged. So where are you as an agent going to continue to generate revenue? If the agent commission is no longer, where's the money coming from? I think it's more that advisory role, like what Paul and I are talking about, where you bring up mortgage, you bring up insurance. We can actually compensate, and I'm not going to get into this today, but there's ways to compensate individuals for supporting companies that are not anti-RESPA. If you work for those companies, you can be part of their marketing department. So there's going to be ways agents will be able to survive, but most agents won't. I think the commission gets challenged, and I think it's going to be a lot like an end cap product at Walmart, where you break even on the sale of X because you know you're going to make money on the Y, Y and Z. I think we're going to see real estate agents' commissions go to almost zero, maybe fee-based, and we're going to make our money on the ancillary. That's what I'm betting on over the next 5 to 10 years. That's what I think is going to happen.
So if you were in our position here in LA or wherever we are, just that Paul and I are in Los Angeles, you'd say, hey guys, Paul and Tristan, you should team up and create an insurance company and go that route, or go find an insurance company. Which route would you say to take? And an insurance company is just what I'm picking. We could pick any.
Yeah. I mean, the most financially beneficial to you would be to start something from scratch or ask for a majority position, which is going to be hard to ask for from an already existing business. So I think as far as the conversation with you two, let's talk offline. As far as the conversation with everybody else that's listening, I would say go reach out to an independent mortgage or insurance company and say, hey, I'm really interested in helping you grow your business. I think I can create impact and influence. Let's start off as a vendor, $100 a month, an MSA, $1,000 a month, and then potentially ownership in the future. And if you can show that you can help them build a book of business through your relationships, and it doesn't have to be through your leads, you guys, this is why I said it's not anti-RESPA. Going back to Paul's sentiment in regards to reaching out to someone on the phone, letting them know interest rates were at an all-time low, we reached out to 400,000 people who are registered, and I have their contact information in and around the Omaha, Nebraska area. If you look up on Wikipedia, there's only 180,000 households. So my database has 2x the amount of households there are in Omaha, Nebraska. All of them receive multiple emails from my mortgage company, Exarban Mortgage, letting them know interest rates are at an all-time low. Click here to find out what your rate would be if you were to refinance today. Now, as a fiduciary and following the platinum rule and as an advisor role, I felt like it was necessary for me to do what I believed was right, and that is to inform them that there are better deals out there. But a lot of agents weren't doing that because there was no way for them to win. And so obviously with having ownership interest in said mortgage company, it gave me more of a reason to want to reach out and make that a big part of my messaging back when rates hit an all-time low.
And how about this for an idea? Again, I'm back to it. You know, Tristan and I are buddies. We're out in LA. We're each making, Tristan's making 150. I'm making 100. We're gonna spend more time prospecting. So now how do I like make dough on insurance? Here's an idea. And that is go to an insurance company. Number one, they've got to give fabulous service so that you're really truly a fiduciary in recommending them. And then I would go to that insurance company and say, hey, do you work with any realtors? Do you have any realtor relationships? And if they say, yes, my son-in-law is a realtor, I go, okay, next. And then I go to somebody who gives great service. I go, hey, I want to call through my database. I want to recommend you to give insurance. And we're just using insurance as one of the ideas. And what I expect in return is I expect your referrals, and that's a great way, certainly RESPA compliant, for somebody who's interfacing with lots and lots of people with insurance is getting referrals from them. Because if my average sales price is $1.5 million or $1 million, I'm looking at a $25,000 commission. That's a great way for me to, and go through every single one of your service providers as a start and make sure that you're getting referrals from those people. Do you think that's a good way to approach it as well?
Yeah, I would say that's the pre-vendor strategy. You go, hey, give me a referral, then you go to a vendor fee, then an MSA, then ownership. The challenge I experienced, Paul, when I did that, 3,000 clients, was that no one could feed me as fast as I needed to be fed. No one ever could match my leads I was sending their direction. And the reason behind that is that independent insurance agency has 25 other real estate agents, and some are their brother-in-laws and nephews and friends. So when they have a lead and they get to choose to feed someone, are they going to always feed you? Probably not. And you're probably not always feeding them either. You're probably spreading it across 5 or 6 insurance agents, using that as the industry we are using the metaphor with. So I have a hard time believing that they're going to be able to keep up with the business I send them. But I will say, you made the comment, track it. So it's as simple as an Excel spreadsheet, you guys. Track every transaction. And if you're a broker or a team leader, track who did your agent refer home and auto? Who did they refer mortgage? Who did they refer for title? Who did they refer for the home inspection and the home warranty? And list anything else that you guys do in your area. And why you want to do that is now next year when you go to create your marketing service agreements to find people to help pay for leads, you know who to go knock on their door and say, hey, we haven't worked together yet, but I just realized I sent you 127 home inspections last year, right? Through my agents, if you have a team. If you're an individual agent, you should be tracking it anyways, because now you can go back to that insurance agent and say, hey, I sent you 12 deals. You said you were going to refer to me and I haven't gotten a single referral. So you need to also learn and understand, and we can talk about this on a future episode, how each of the businesses function. I know all of the businesses' numbers. So I know that a home inspection company only makes a net $50. So if I send them 4 deals a month and I think they should give me $1,000, I'm crazy. That's only worth $200 net. So if they were giving me $200 a month, they're breaking even. So you have to understand the businesses that you're feeding leads to so that you can understand the impact and influence you can create in those relationships, which puts you in a stronger negotiation position for asking for referrals, for asking for vendor contribution, for asking for MSA contribution, and then eventually asking for ownership. Typical businesses will operate at about a 15 to 20% net. Typical businesses should then take, as a percentage of net, about 15 to 20% should go towards marketing spend. So what I try to figure out, using the home inspection as the number I will play with, if I'm getting $50 on a home inspection net, I expect that they're going to give me anywhere from $5 to $10 of that 50. That's going to go towards lead gen, because any smart business is going to allocate 10 to 20% of their net margin towards lead generation or marketing. And who's the better person to market for any of these ancillary businesses than the real estate agent, who in their purchase agreement delineates which ancillary business that consumer is going to choose to go to. So if you understand mortgage and the numbers that they earn, which is insane, you understand the title and what they earn, you understand home inspection, home warranty, it'll help put you in a more powerful position to have strategic conversations about how they can help support your business, which is only in return going to support their own. But they need to believe that what goes around comes around, and that if they're feeding you an MSA contribution or a vendor contribution, they're going to get business in return. So I would always say, subscribe to the rule of under promise and over deliver. And every year as you've over delivered, you're going to know how much you've over delivered, and you're going to get that back the following year by asking for more and more and more, and eventually ownership in the entity.
Hey, Tristan, can we change Jeff's title to professor?
Hold on.
Seriously, I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. It's Professor Cohn. From now on, from me, it's Professor. Thank you. Seriously, and this is why I know we've come to the top of the hour here, and this is why, if it's not obvious that you should go to, and I don't sell anything, okay, and if it's not obvious to you that you should go to Jeff Cohn's, I know Tristan put the URL in the chat box. If you don't think it's obvious by now to go to Jeff's website and follow through and check out what this guy is doing, I mean to tell you, absolutely astounding. Yeah, growwithers.com. I mean. And again, we do this webinar for the region just to lift the boats. And I know one of the things I know for sure is that we can sit around and we can look at, hey, there's good news. Oh, there's bad news. There's a third surge of coronavirus. Oh, wait a minute. There's 2 vaccines coming, which I'm very optimistic about. And I'm generally not that optimistic. So let's look at all these national things. There's nothing that will affect your business more than the activities that you take, period, full stop. And Jeff is a master at mastering his business, treating his real estate sales, going from a real estate salesman to a business owner, and taking that to a totally different level. So really super grateful for you joining us at the region, and Tristan, coordinating this with Lab Coat's phenomenal.
Yeah, it's my pleasure, and I appreciate it, and I appreciate all the compliments. And I've always learned and looked up to both of you as mentors, and I would never be where I am now without people like yourselves paving the way for me to get to this point. And this is my ask to everyone listening. Like, you are so much further ahead than Paul or Tristan were when they got into the business, and further ahead than where I was when I got into the business. Take some of this stuff, apply it, and you will get results from this. This is real life application. I'm still running a brokerage. I'm still in the trenches. These strategies will work. I do have a couple asks for the audience. Follow me on Instagram at Jeff M. Cohn, JEFFM as in Mark, COHN. Come check out one of our events in Omaha. We're hosting 5 live events in person. Hopefully there is that vaccine, Paul, right around the corner. But our first live in person is March of 2021. You can go buy your tickets right now at that Grow with ERS link. Paul has been to the workshop before. I'd still like to try to get Tristan out. And then this summer is our massive yearly event. This is where I'm going to get Tristan to come. I should put him on the spot right now. In May 2021, the only event of its kind, the Team Building Summit.com. So we're going to have a couple hundred people out this year in Omaha downtown. It's beautiful that time of year, like weather in San Diego, not guaranteed. And we're going to have a 2-day event, and it's going to only be agents speaking that have teams that do over 100 million a year in volume. I have 10 team leader agents that are coming to speak, and then I'm going to have a few keynotes, and that's where Tristan and I will talk offline, but I'd love to have you come out and speak on behalf of Labco and some of the cool things that you guys are doing. And we've got a couple other subject matter experts in the digital marketing space, virtual reality, which is a big topic I like to talk about, 6 degrees of freedom, 3 degrees of freedom, all the stuff we're doing there. It's going to be an amazing event. So if you guys are interested in doing something really fun in 2021 to change it up, you can attend one of those live events. And we are offering our first ever team building workshop virtually in January. So if you don't want to make the trip out and you're worried still with what's going on with COVID and everything, come check out our virtual workshop. It's usually $1,000. That's what Paul probably had to pay. And we're making the virtual one only $200, $199.
And who would the ideal person be for that?
Anyone that would like to make more money in less time with less energy. So that's everyone. And we also talk about real estate investing. I've built a $12 million single family investment portfolio in Omaha in about 2 years. We have about 85 doors rounding the 100-door corner with the goal of having 10,000 doors in the next 5 years. And that's going to be about 2 hours of the workshop is talking about how we were able to build that investment portfolio.
Jeff, how the hell do all three of us not talk more often? Paul?
I know. It's crazy.
I think because every time I see you, I'm in a robe. Just coming out of a spa, you're too intimidated.
Awkward situation, Jeff.
Exactly.
You're like in a robe, and I'm like, should I be talking to this guy right now?
Hello, Tristan.
You know, we have that in common. I met Jeff. Our first conversation was in a hot tub at a resort when we were at a mastermind, and immediately I'm like, this guy's the real deal.
That's funny. Well,
Jeff, do you have a link to the team thing, or is there a website?
the teambuildingsummit.com, of course.
A team building summit. Can you put that in there? Because I screwed up the first time I typed.
Let's see if I can get this right.
And we do have, I don't know if we have time or not, but we do have a couple of people that had hands raised. Tristan, I'll let you figure out whether we have time for that or not.
Yeah, let's do it. We got 5 minutes. Let's go.
I'm free.
We had one from Love Tafari and also Paul Robles. Let me see if I got, Paul Robles. So how do we take that, Tristan? You take it through the chat box or?
Yeah, we can ask right here. I know Love's got a question here, or actually Desiree's got a question first. It says, what do you have to say about viral? Anything quickly on explaining how they help your business or what people should look forward to?
Is the question in regards to viral marketing?
Yeah, it says, ask Jeff about viral, just a short explanation.
Yeah, so viral marketing, owned by a good friend of mine. He and I went to college together in Omaha. He's actually living on Coronado Island, coincidentally, because I had brought that up earlier. They do a really great job at taking content you've created, like a 60 or 90-second video, and then dispersing it via the medium you provide to them. So I've been using them since 2012. It's like $500 a month, $525, something like that. And essentially, I just shoot 2 or 3 videos, informational videos that go out to clients. And now I've added agents, and then they package it up, edit it, put an article along with it, and distribute it to your email list. So I started off with about 1,000 people back in 2007, 2008. And Frank Klesitz challenged me. He said, hey, you don't have to rely on Google Ads or SEO if you build your own Google. What he meant was capture everyone's information every time I ever talk to anyone, which I started doing. That's how my database is at 400,000. And I've been emailing those people for almost 10 years. I've sent out hundreds and hundreds of emails of information that I thought would be valuable to them. And people can unsubscribe. And I have 70,000 people today that still receive that email. I average 10,000 opens every week. So I have 10,000 people that actually think this stuff's informational and informative and something of value to them. So if you are not already doing something like this, viral is a great option to help you get started, because they're going to worry about the distribution channel. They use Emma for all their mass emailing. They'll worry about editing it and make it look nice. Pretty cheap, $500. So just shoot 4 videos. It's like if you don't have a podcast, which is I think the best way to distribute content, I think creating that blog is a second great option. And you go to kwelite.com. On the top, click on blog. I have 5 blogs, which we're going to change the semantics next year to podcast, because blog feels boomer, I'm told. It's a little old fashioned of a term. They're podcasts, which is so much cooler. So starting next year, we're just going to call them podcasts. I'd recommend call it a podcast. Don't call it a blog.
I love that. All right. What CRM do you use right now?
We're using Boomtown, and we absolutely love Boomtown. Couldn't say anything negative about them. They've been with us since 2011. We were one of the first 100 platforms. I've been told we're the fastest growing platform they've ever had in terms of unit sales. But there's a lot of great ones out there. Less expensive that I hear really good things about is Real Geeks. So if you're not really wanting to build a team, you want to run solo, I think Real Geeks is a good option. I think if you're going to add one person or have any type of a team, I think Boomtown. I've heard good things about Sync. Of course, Command has just recently released some of their team functionality, which we're beta testing that right now as well. And we'll always run Boomtown parallel to Command.
I love that, dude. Good. Paul, anything else we missed, buddy?
That's great. That's great. And I love, I'd love to hear what you have to say on your investment side as well. So very interesting. Really.
Yeah, part two.
The
to this.
dialer questions, Mojo dialer.
Uh-huh.
3 lines. That's the best one out there. It usually has an API with most CRMs, like Boomtown has the Mojo dialer integration. I think Command has the same thing in there.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. Paul,
Thanks, you guys.
Jeff,
I
Professor
love
Jeff, thanks for being on.
Professor Jeff,
You guys are.
Appreciate
Yeah.
you.
I
Thanks
appreciate
a lot,
being on
man.
there. This was fun. Thanks, you guys.
great seeing you.
Good
Okay.
to see you always. Later, gentlemen.
Thanks, everybody.